Do you live in an expensive market or want to travel full time, but you also want to own cash flowing rentals?
In this video, we'll show you how we made the jump to investing out of state and share tips and tricks on picking a market and building a team from thousands of miles away.
I'm Sarah Weaver.
And I'm Soli.
And we're in Guatemala. Today we're going to be going over why and how we invest long distance, and we mean long distance.
Yes, I bought my properties from 2,500 miles away. What about you, Sarah?
I started out small. I bought from 900 miles away. And then when I moved to New Zealand, I bought properties in Nebraska, making that 8,000 miles away. And today we're going to show you how we did it.
That is so awesome, Sarah. I cannot wait to hear more about it. But as always, make sure to like and subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. And follow us on Instagram at Lattes and Lisa's and Sarah D. Weaver. If you stay to the very end, we'll be sharing our biggest pieces of advice for people who are looking to start investing out of state as well.
Absolutely. And Soli, with interest rates the way that they are rising so quickly, I'm getting asked more than ever, Sarah, how do you invest out of state?
Me too. So I'm from San Francisco Bay Area where home prices are typically over $1 million. And when I started investing at 22, I didn't have the capital or income to qualify for a house at that price. I decided that it made more sense for me to look at a state where the prices were a little bit lower and the cash flow was a lot better.
I was in the same boat. I was living in Denver, Colorado, and at my price point, I couldn't find anything that cash flowed. So I bought my first property from 10 hours away in Kansas City.
And you scaled really quickly after that first property, right?
You know what's really interesting is I actually didn't. I bought that property, 2 years later bought another property, but then in spring of 2021, that is when I scaled really quickly. I went from 3 units to 15 units in 90 days, and now I own 19 units in 4 states.
Or states. Why so many?
You know, it's interesting. I didn't intend on owning in 4 states. It just kind of happened that way. I met an investor-friendly agent in a market that I wasn't investing in, and next thing I knew, I owned in that market, and then I did it again in Des Moines. And so that wasn't my intention, but it is the investor-friendly agent that led me to my market. What about you?
I scaled fairly quickly. I went from no properties to 27 units within 2 years, mostly through investor friendly agents as well. So I chose to invest in Cincinnati because I had a small network of investors who were able to introduce me to their team. And that gave me a lot of the confidence when I was buying my first deal out of state.
And on that note, let's go ahead and let's dive into the good stuff. Today, we want to talk about how we picked our market, but then more importantly, how we find amazing deals in that market, even from so far away. And I know that we credit a lot of our success to the on the ground teams, so we'll also cover how we built those.
Let's start with picking a market. Sarah, how did you settle on yours?
You know, I have these certain metrics, so I'll start with those. I have population growth. I want to see that population is increasing, more people are moving there. I want to see that there's job growth, that there's more jobs in that market for those people moving there. Then I want to see wage and income growth because I want to see that they're getting paid more so that I can increase rent. And that's my other metric is rent rate increase. I want to see that other landlords are charging more in rent so that I can do the same thing. And then last but not least is home value increase. I want to see that homes are increasing. I mean, we are investing, right? And so I want my homes to appreciate. And so, Soli, that's one of my questions for you is when you invested outside of California, I mean, California is one of the most appreciating markets ever. And so why did you choose Cincinnati?
So I was actually prioritizing cash flow over appreciation. And that's why I decided to look out of state instead of investing locally in California.
Me too. That's excellent. Any other metrics that you use?
Yeah, so all of those metrics are great. I look at them as well. The one thing I'd add is industry diversification. So when I'm looking for a market, I'm looking for one that has multiple industries, so not just an army base or one single hospital or factory, so that if that shut down, you would lose all of your tenant demand. So making sure you have multiple industries that support a healthy tenant demand.
You're absolutely right. And here's the thing. Soli and I, we can sit on this screen and we can say, these are the metrics that we look at. But at the end of the day, you have to just pick a market. You could go into analysis paralysis, Googling best market for this and best market for that. But at the end of the day, you just have to pick something. Do you agree?
I totally agree. Picking a market is very personal as well. So, what I like to look for is competitive advantage. I had a competitive advantage in Cincinnati because I had a network of investors who were willing to introduce me to their team. And so, whether you went to school somewhere and you know the market really well, or you have a sister or a friend who's a property manager and can introduce you to some parts of the market or look after your properties, I think that's actually a great place to start to narrow down the markets that you're looking at.
I love it because even if you have the best market, the next step is, do you have deal flow?
That's a great point, Sarah. That brings us right into the next portion of today's show, how we find deals. So I know you're getting great deals in your inbox daily. Where are most of those coming from?
I rely really heavily on investor friendly agents. It turns out 75% of my portfolio was actually brought to me from an investor friendly agent. And of that, 50% of that was on the MLS, and half of that was what we call off market deals. What about you, Sully? Where are you finding deals?
It's funny because my percentages are probably very similar 75% from agents, 50% off market, and 50% on market, which a lot of people think you can't find good deals these days. I've been diversifying recently a little bit to just direct to seller marketing. So, mailers, cold calls, a little bit of Facebook marketing, which I call direct to seller. And although it takes a little bit more work, you usually find a little steeper discounts. And so I like to just increase my deal flow by adding in those marketing avenues as well. So, since you've been finding most of your deals through agents, what have you found to be the best way to grow your agent network?
Absolutely. And keep in mind, you guys, I'm growing my network or on the ground team from far away. I'm still not flying to this market. And so I go to the internet and I scoured the internet for investor friendly agents. I started in the BiggerPockets forums, networking with other experienced investors and building relationships with them, asking them who they recommend to use. And then I don't stop there. I ask for agents, property managers, contractors, general contractors, cleaners, photographers, and a lot more.
I definitely agree on the referral front, especially from experienced investors in the market. That's how I've built the majority of my team. So, one of my favorite sayings is rock stars know rock stars. And so, once you find that first solid team member, usually people start with investor friendly agents because they're well marketed. Your referral web just definitely begins to grow. Once you find that solid team, it takes a lot of the fear and anxiety out of state investing because you know that there are solid people looking after your properties for you.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Referrals are so important. And for those that are interested in investing out of state solely, what's one of your biggest pieces of advice?
I would say don't wait until you got everything figured out to get started. I know I definitely did not know what I was doing at first at all, but I quickly became a problem solver and just put one foot in front of the next. You're never going to feel 100% ready to take that leap. So at some point, you just got to do it.
Oh,
What
I couldn't agree more. And absolutely, Solly, you're one of the best problem solvers that I know. My advice is really similar. I call it function in the fear. For some, investing can be scary, and then investing out of state can be even scarier. And I just tell people with kindness, just do it anyway. So function in the fear. Because I can't tell you, I get so many messages solely that are like, Sarah, you're so lucky. You get to travel. How do you do it? And I really want to write back, I buy a plane ticket. And then I get messages that are like, wow, you're so lucky. You own so many rental properties. How did you do it? And I want to say, I bought rental properties. And so my advice is, even if you're scared, do it anyway. While investing out of states can be scary for some of you, I'm hoping that hearing how Soli and I function in the fear, create processes and systems that work for us, you now have the confidence to invest in out of state as well.
And remember, we didn't start out with 20 units. It took time to get here. It took work to build those processes, but it all started with a decision to take action. So through our real estate investments, we're able to travel full time if we want to. Sarah has been doing it for 3.5 years, and I just started.
Thanks for joining us today, and follow us along on Instagram to see how we travel the world and invest out of state.